This week is known as Banned Books Week, which was founded to support the freedom to seek and to express ideas. It also shows that some ideas face a lot more opposition than others.
When you ban a book, you're not just banning a book, you're banning a thought, you're banning an idea, and that's what's scary.
Go to hell, yes, the demand for U.S. exorcists just quadrupled. According to Rachel Ray for the Telegraph UK, she reports that in the United States over the past 10 years, the number of official priest exorcists has more than quadrupled, from 20 to 50. They say it's an ongoing struggle to keep up with the demand. Now, apparently, there was a lengthy interview that took place with the Telegraph. They state that the two exorcists discuss how the increase in drug and pornography addiction, failure of the mental health care system, and a rise in the popularity of pagan activities such as using a Ouija board to summon the dead are among the factors contributing to the huge increase in the demand for exorcisms in America.
Fertility doctors using a brand new technique to eliminate inherited disease have helped a woman deliver a baby with 3 genetic parents. The child, who is now 5 months old, has the usual DNA from his mom and dad, plus genetic code from a female donor. The method was carried out in Mexico by US Dr. John Zhang and his team, as the procedure is illegal in America. It means the child is now free of a fatal disorder known as Lee syndrome, which, carried in his mother's genes, led to the deaths of 2 previous children. Experts say the move heralds a new era in medicine and could help other families with rare genetic conditions. However, critics say it's playing God and insist such controversial techniques have rigorous checks.
A new law in Norway means children as young as 6 years old can choose their gender. Until July, Norway was one of 32 European countries that required people to undergo irreversible sterilization before their gender change would be legally recognized. 10-year-old Anna is one of 9 children who have taken advantage of the new measure. It allows Norwegian children to self-identify as male or female with their parents' consent.
In some weeks I'm going to have a new passport, and then it's going to say F, my name is Anna, and yeah, that's going to be great.
I think it's a beautiful thing that Norway finally can recognize her as the girl she actually feels she is.
So far, Norway has not refused a single gender application for an adult or child. There's no requirement for surgical or psychological intervention or approval. Legal officials say the process is simple. Applicants just go online and fill out a form.
Meet Jackson Malarker. He's an actor who's transgender, and he's starring in this week's episode of Modern Family. Not only is this the first time the ABC show has cast a child who's transgender, but it's also the first time any TV show has done that. Just a week ago, Transparent star Jeffrey Tambor urged Hollywood to cast more transgender actors and actresses during his Emmy acceptance speech.
I would not be unhappy were I the last cisgender male to play a female transgender on television.
GLAAD's most recent Where We Are on TV report found there were only 7 transgender roles on scripted shows last season, none of which were on the 5 major broadcast networks. But only some of those 7 characters are played by actors who are transgender. Perhaps that's starting to change. CBS will debut a new show mid-season starring Laverne Cox, marking broadcast TV's first transgender character to be a series regular. And we're not too surprised Modern Family is bucking tradition. After all, its characters have always pushed the boundaries. So why should its casting be any different?
A transgender woman has filed a lawsuit against the Cincinnati Public Library on Monday after her various attempts to have her gender reassignment surgery covered by the library's employee health insurance plan. Rachel Dovell has worked at the library for more than 10 years and is now an electronic line assistant, entering data about new collections. She's suing the Public Library of Cincinnati and its insurance company to seek out compensation for the $25,000 the procedure is expected to cost her. She claims the library and the insurer are violating her civil rights by denying her coverage to have gender reassignment surgery, which is recommended by her physician for her gender dysmorphia.
Bone-dry weather in California has produced an epidemic of wildfires. There are 7 burning. This one broke out yesterday in the mountains near Santa Cruz. It's already burned 1,100 acres and at least 2 homes. Hundreds more are threatened, and evacuations have been ordered.
Iowa is experiencing what meteorologists are claiming to be the state's worst flood ever. As of now, 10,000 people have been evacuated from Cedar Rapids. The flooding is flowing from Wisconsin, which experienced extreme rainfall last week. According to Greg Bulow, the City of Cedar Rapids public safety coordinator, Cedar River is going to crest at 7 a.m. Tuesday morning. He stated the next several hours are going to be critical.
This video is incredible. I mean, did you see that? Wow. There's lightning, there's debris flying all over the place. This was captured in Layton, Utah from just a couple of days ago, and a lot of people were convinced that this was from a tornado, but the reality is this was not from a tornado. The National Weather Service went in and they did a storm damage survey, and they were trying to distinguish, was this a tornado? But they said no, this was actually caused by straight line winds. And we were seeing that debris getting pushed in the same direction that the wind was blowing. You can see it barely missed these vehicles. And from what we understand, nobody was hurt in this. Thank goodness.
Typhoon Meggie has killed 4 people and injured nearly 330 in Taiwan. The powerful storm has left roughly 3 million households without electricity and disrupted water and transportation services.
A 700-ton crane in eastern Taiwan was no match for Super Typhoon Maggie's gale force winds. The storm made landfall Tuesday afternoon. Screams could be heard as Maggie tore scaffolding down from buildings standing in its way. One young woman struggled to retrieve her motorbike. As she felt the storm, she broke out in tears. The storm toppled houses and ripped rooftops off, forcing people to flee their homes.
It's a public health emergency that's affecting 92% of us.
Only 1 every 10 citizens, they live in areas that are compiling with the WHO recommendations for air quality.
The World Health Organization's figures come from data gathered from 3,000 locations, using pollution monitors on the ground and satellite readings. It measured dangerous particulate matter in the air, which can penetrate deep into the lungs or cardiovascular system, causing strokes and cancers. 2 out of 3 deaths from pollution occur in Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific. WHO figures reveal that the problem is most severe in China, where more than 1 million people died from dirty air in 2012, followed by India, with at least 600,000 deaths that year. But the WHO said that no country was immune to the problem, and that all governments need to take action to curb pollution levels. In December last year, 195 countries signed a legally binding agreement to fight climate change, but that agreement is not due to enter into force until 2020. In March last year, air pollution in Paris was briefly worse than any other city in the world. In a bid to tackle the ongoing problem, the city voted on Monday to ban cars along a stretch of the River Seine.
Charlotte-Mecklenburg police removed a suspicious package from its headquarters after its appearance led to an evacuation. A post on the department's Twitter page said a dog alerted to the package after an employee saw it. A robot removed the package, and around 6 police cars followed by a fire truck fashioned a motorcade heading down a road outside of downtown Charlotte. Police say the package will be rendered safe at a remote location. After the package was removed, people were allowed to return to a parking lot across the street from the headquarters.
Students targeting the very schools they attend, that's at least according to police. Social media threats piling on over the last few days at nearly 24 Valley schools, but now those young teens arrested tonight and are facing some serious charges. ABC 15's Megan Thompson joins us live on this one. And Megan, the police are telling you they aren't playing any games with this.
Oh, not at all, Katie. In fact, these students could be facing felony charges as well as disciplinary actions from the different schools that they attend. And what we don't know right now is if this school, North High School, has any students involved right now. But we do know from our sources that this school was involved in those threats. And these threats, terrifying and just bizarre, including creepy clowns as profile pictures, explaining the violence they plan on doing, and these posts getting shared, liked, commented on, passed around like wildfire. Phoenix police say just because it's on social media and just because it doesn't seem credible doesn't mean they don't have to investigate it like the real deal, putting officers at those schools, and that cuts into the already limited resources of the department.
We know we're still down officers despite our hiring efforts. We can't afford to be at dozens and dozens of officers at every school, so we need to identify the problem and deal with it as quickly as we can.
The department also telling us this definitely caused a lot of kids to be out of school today, scared of what might happen.
FBI Director James Comey said Tuesday that even though he is convinced that the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or ISIS, will be destroyed soon, that this will not be the end of it. Comey, in testimony before Congress, said the U.S. remains extremely concerned that violent extremists will eventually flow out of Syria and Iraq and into other countries in hopes of committing attacks. The number of Americans traveling to Syria to fight alongside ISIS has slowed to a trickle in the last year. But as the so-called caliphate becomes crushed, many militants from Western nations who are already there will stream out of the region and create new security threats. Comey said, there will be a terrorist diaspora sometime in the next 2 to 5 years, like we've never seen before.
A bevándorlási válság kezdete óta vészesen megnőtt a terrortámadások száma Európában. Itt is megtörténhet. Ne kockáztassuk Magyarország jövőjét. Szavazzunk nemmel október 2-án.
Police secure the scene after a bomb blast outside this mosque in Dresden. The improvised device was one of 2 to go off in the East German city on Monday evening. The second was at an international conference centre. Luckily, no one has been injured.
Aggressivität auch gegen muslimische Religion.
German Interior Minister Thomas de Maizière says aggression, including against religious figures, is on the rise. Monday's attacks come just one day before the 10th anniversary of the German Islam Conference, he says.
Über einer DİTİB-Moschee in einem Kulturzentrum stattgefunden hat.
Police also believe there's a link to this weekend's celebrations in Dresden to mark the anniversary of German reunification.
The Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte has decided to turn his back on the country's long-standing ally, the United States, and instead seek closer ties with Russia and China. And he announced it in his own unique style.
I'm about to cross the Rubicon between me and the United States. At least for the 6 years. I would need your help in everything. Trade, commerce, and I will open up. I've been talking with Prime Minister Medvedev. I'm gonna invite China and Russia put up a new airliner. You observe, not even respect. You observe, not even courtesies.
China is upset that other countries are utilizing foreign laws to impose long-arm jurisdiction. But the news comes after the U.S. sanctioned a Chinese industrial machinery wholesaler with ties to North Korea's nuclear ambitions. The U.S. Treasury imposed regulations on Dandong Hongxiang Industrial Development, including 4 of its executives. The firm has also been targeted by the Justice Department with criminal charges. The sanctions specifically target proliferations of mass destruction weapon systems like nuclear armaments.
Setting aside their political differences, the Pakistani government and opposition parties have put up a united front against the possible threat of military strikes in India. Pakistan and India appear to be on the brink of a war after 18 Indian soldiers were killed in an attack on the military base in the disputed region of Kashmir last week.
Military ties between the US and India are going to gain further momentum as they plan to upgrade their joint combat exercises. The two countries signed a logistics exchange memorandum of agreement a few weeks ago. Under the deal, the two militaries will be able to coordinate better, including in exercises and military-to-military exchanges. The agreement will also facilitate the provision of logistical support, supplies and services between the two countries' militaries on a reimbursable basis, providing a framework to govern them. The Indo-US defense relationship has now crossed the 14 billion mark. This, as India, for a long time, has had good military ties with the United States' rival Russia. Now, some analysts argue that the expansion of military ties with Washington may negatively affect New Delhi's military relations with Moscow.
A major development in central Aleppo as Syria's army has regained control of a rebel-held district after days of heavy airstrikes. Pro-government troops seized the Farafira district northwest of Aleppo's historic citadel in a ground advance on Tuesday. The Syrian military, helped by Iranian-backed Shiite militias and the Russian Air Force, launched a campaign to retake Aleppo last week. This latest offensive comes after a US-Russia brokered ceasefire deal collapsed. UK-based monitor, Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, said more than 165 people have been killed by bombardment since.
America could slap Germany's biggest bank with a $14 billion fine for its role in the 2008 financial crisis. The US Department of Justice alleges that Deutsche Bank downplayed how toxic its bonds really were, thereby contributing significantly to the crash. If dished out, the fine will be the biggest ever demanded by the Americans from a foreign lender. Deutsche Bank has confirmed that it's currently in talks with the Justice Department, but insists it has no intention of coughing up that much money.